Once you have a project set up, the next step is to design a questionnaire. Surveda has a questionnaire designer that makes it quick and easy to configure the details that are needed. This includes selecting which languages you expect participants to speak or read, what modes, such as SMS or an IVR phone call, you would like the questionnaire to support, and the design and customization for each step or interaction with the participant throughout the questionnaire you plan to deploy. To begin, open your project. Then select the Questionnaire tab and create a new questionnaire. Now, give your questionnaire a name. Add some specific details so you can help keep track of it. Things like version number, date, or other key details can be helpful. Next, you can decide which languages you want to support, and also which modes are important for this questionnaire. Each of the different modes will need slightly different information, so if you only plan to use SMS, be sure to turn off the other modes. For example, phone or IVR will also require you to upload audio files or write a script for text-to-speech. Text-to-speech is where an automated voice recites the text in the voice message. By selecting multiple modes, you'll be able to deploy mixed mode surveys. We'll show you more about this in one of our subsequent videos. Now that you have your preferred languages and modes selected, you can begin to design your questionnaire. There are a number of different steps available to use, including multiple choice or categorical questions, numeric questions which allow an integer response, explanation steps which are messages that are sent to a participant but don't expect a response, and flag steps which allow for a value to be stored in the system when a participant gets to a certain point in the questionnaire. As you create each different step, the designer will guide you through the necessary details and content required. To show you how the questionnaire designer works, let's create a short example. To start this questionnaire, I'll create a question to ask for consent among a participant. First, each step in a questionnaire needs a name. Then, write the script for that message. This content will be used to interact with the participant over the mode that's selected. Now, if we zoom out, you can see how if we enable a phone call, or IVR, additional message lines become available. Now, let's add a voice message for this consent question. Then, by using this drop-down menu, I can either upload an audio file that I've recorded somewhere else, or I can use text-to-speech. Next, we need to define the potential responses that the system will expect from a participant. Each row corresponds to one category of potential responses, in this case either yes or no. The first column defines each category. This string will be used to encode data in the survey results. The next two columns are for inputting what expected responses are acceptable for each mode. For SMS, you can add multiple options, separated by commas, to accept both numeric and text responses, such as no, n, or 3. Lastly, the skip logic column allows you to define where a participant who enters one of these values should go next in the questionnaire. Lastly, each step requires a variable name. For this one, I'll write consent. Now, I'll minimize this step and add a new one for age. Similar to a categorical question, for a numeric step you can set range delimiters and min and max values. As I scroll down, you'll see where we can do that. For the age question, I will set the min value to 0 and add range delimiters of 18, 25, 45, 65 to create some basic age brackets. Then I will add a max value of 125. As I scroll down, you'll see that a series of age categories have been created. Now I want to also ensure that participants under the age of 18 are not enrolled. Similar to a categorical field, you can apply skip logic to each range. Here, I'll send this group to the end of the survey. Again, I need to give this step a name. I'll call it age years. Now that I have steps in my questionnaire to both obtain consent, but also to ensure that a participant is old enough, I'm now going to ask several questions about smoking and drinking. Here we're setting up a simple categorical question about smoking. This is the exact same as we did above with consent. First, I'll give the step a name again. Then, I'll add the SMS and voice messages for this step. Now I'll add the yes and no categorical response options. Since I already had a yes-no question above, the SMS and phone call options are auto-populated to help speed up the process. Now I'll give the variable a name. We'll call it smoking. Next, let's create a drinking question. The content here is quite similar as the previous question about smoking. Only this time, we'll create a follow-up question to ask how much somebody drinks if they say that they do drink. Let me quickly finish this step so that I can show you how this works. Now, let's create a follow-up question to ask if they participate in any heavy drinking. Further, we will want to only present this to participants who indicated before that they do drink alcohol. This will improve the experience among other participants by not asking them a redundant, unnecessary question. Let me quickly set this up. As I am writing the SMS message for this step, a common challenge has come up. The script for my question is longer than what can fit in a standard SMS message. This problem is highlighted by the character counter at the bottom right of the message. To fix this issue, I can use a cursor to select a location in the message that is logical for a break to occur. I then hold down Shift and hit Enter to create a second message line. This will help ensure that the messages are presented to participants in a logical and clear way. Now that the SMS message is ready, I'll add the voice message for IVR. And again, we will need to set up the different response categories for the step. The tool allows you to set up as many categories as you need, but remember to keep it simple. It'll be easier for respondents that way. For the last step, let's add an explanation step to thank the participant. These steps won't expect a response, so it's a good way to introduce or end a questionnaire. Configuring an explanation step is just like the other types of steps. First, we give it a name, thank you in this case. Then we add the messages for the modes that we have enabled. Remember, for an explanation step, a participant won't be expected to respond in any way. Now, let's add a couple flag steps. A flag step is invisible to a participant, but Surveda will store a piece of data when a participant gets to a specific spot in the questionnaire that has a flag. These can be used as disposition codes as well, denoting those who are ineligible or refuse to participate, or those that only completed part of the questionnaire. This is called a partial. Or whether they completed the whole questionnaire as a completed. Now that I have a flag for those participants who completed the questionnaire, I'll create another one for those who are ineligible. Now I'll drag each flag to where I want it in the questionnaire. Next, let's set the skip criteria so that people who are too young go to that flag. Then those who are old enough to participate, we'll send them on to the first question. Let's also set the skip criteria so that anybody who is too young also gets sent to the thank you message at the end of the questionnaire. I also must check the skip criteria for the alcohol-related questions now that I have added additional steps. Here I am setting non-drinkers to go to the completed flag instead of just the next step. Now that my questionnaire is designed, I may want to also add other languages. To do this, select the Add Language button on the left side of the screen. Select the language you prefer, and a new language select step is added. The entire questionnaire will now require content for this additional language. You can also toggle which language is the primary language. Lastly, for a questionnaire, there are specific settings for each mode that are required. These are at the bottom of the designer. Within each settings box, you'll need to set a quota complete message for when enough respondents have already been collected for a particular category of individuals. Also, an error message that will be shared when a value outside the defined options is entered. And finally, a thank you message. Now that you've seen how to create a questionnaire, give it a try. Use the different steps and modes to create a questionnaire of your own.
If you have any questions, take a look at the other video tutorials or the user knowledge base where you can ask an expert directly. To do this, see the links below in the description for this video, or navigate to ncdmobile.org.